Alright, I just wanted to go over a little bit of the homework now. This is for Chapter 4, Lesson 8, and this is P77 in your small math book, so this is part of the homework. Again, I'm not going to go over every problem, just wanted to kind of talk about the directions and whatnot. Okay, so this says divide, use partial quotients. Again, I'm not as concerned with what strategy you use as I am about you being able to get the correct answer. But again, if we wanted to use the partial quotient strategy, I can start with, I know 10 sixes is only going to be 60, and so if I look at these, I'm going to use kind of a combination of two strategies we use. What number is very close to 25 that 6 can go into? Yeah, that would be 24 or 240, and I know 240 is the same thing as 24 tens. So how many 6s will go into 24 tens? Well, that would be 4, but that's actually 40. So I'm going to do 40 6s. I'm going to jump all the way up to 40 6s. See, they started over here on their example problem with 10 8s and said, okay, for our kind of separate problem here, remember these are our partial quotients over here that we add at the end. So for their separate problem, they started with 10 8s to get 80. But here, I used a combination. I looked at compatible numbers, and then I also am going to use partial quotients. So on my kind of separate problem over here, this is how many 6s? 40 6s. Because I can do 6 times 4 and get 24. Add my 0 placeholder and subtract, and look at how far I've already came. So now I have 1 and 8. Well, 6 goes into 18 how many times? Well, we can jump again. 3 6s, ooh, that's an ugly 3. 3 6s. So again, on my separate problem over here, 3 6s, that's going to give me 18. And 18 minus 18 is 0. So I come over to my partial products. I was able to jump ahead quite a bit. 40 plus 3 is 43. So my final answer here is 43. Now, if you did 10, 10, and did 10 4 times and kept subtracting, that's going to work too. You can absolutely do that. But if you remember our concepts of numbers, you can see how I use two strategies here to jump ahead quite a bit. I use compatible numbers, so I looked at the first two and said, okay, that's 25 is really close to 24, which 24 is a multiple of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. So that's what allowed me to jump ahead so far. Okay. Now, down here, I'm going to look at 4, 5, and 6 really quickly. Again, I'm not going to go over all the problems. I'm just going to talk about them a little bit. Use rectangular models to record the partial quotients. So it's very similar to what you're doing up here, but they want you to do rectangular models. Again, I'm not as concerned about what strategy you use, but I do want you to understand each strategy. Okay, so if we're using the rectangular model, my divisor goes over here. My number inside, I know it's going to add up to 246 total. Okay. But then I can break this apart. I can say, okay, what would 10 threes look like? Okay, that would be 30. Another 10 threes. And again, you probably want to get rid of that, but would be another 30. And I can keep going until I get up to 246 and see how many. So this would be how I would show, using a rectangular model, my partial quotients. Okay, so another 30, that's 90. We would have to make this box a little bigger even to accommodate us. But that's what we're doing, okay, until all of these 30s and all of these number of 3s that we used, once all these 30s add up to, and there's going to be partial ones as well, but we're trying to get up to 246, and then we add all these partial quotients up here at the top now to see what our final answer is going to be. Okay. And then 7, 8, and 9, you can use either strategy. So they wanted to briefly check, do you understand how to use the strategies? And then you get a pick. Which one's your favorite? Choose either one of the strategies you prefer. Okay. If it was me, I prefer this strategy. But that's my personal preference. Some of you may say, hey, we use the rectangles similarly in multiplication. I like them for division as well, and that's perfectly okay. All right, thank you again for watching. Focus, attitude, initiative, listen.